This is the Modern Mastery Unleashed podcast.
Welcome to the Modern Self-Mastery Unleashed podcast. Today, we're talking about experiencing the joy of vision and how to make it happen. So a very important one, as they all are, but vision is the destination, as my esteemed colleague Natalia will tell us all about, with a vast experience with coaching clients. So I think that's it's a weighty topic because it's the starting point of everything, and just how many of us actually know what our North Star even looks like. What does winning look like in 12 months' time? What would winning look like? Because I've certainly had the experience of setting a goal for the sake of setting a goal, but I had no idea what winning looked like to me. And when I thought about it from that angle, my goal was changed and it actually meant something. So I think that's a really good place to start.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, everybody, welcome. I really like that. And Paul's right. I do. If you've been following me for a while, I always say vision is the destination, strategy is the pathway there, and you are the key to making it happen. So it's a super important starting point, like Paul said, because if you don't know where you're going, it's like your GPS. You get into a car, you have a starting point and you have an end point. If you don't even know what your starting point is, which we'll talk about at some point, but you have to have a starting point and you have to have an end point. If you don't have that end point, how is your navigation system going to even take you the right way? And even if you have both starting point and end point, that's great because you can hit roadblocks, you can hit dead ends, you can hit road closures, all the obstacles that we come in our path.
Yeah.
And our Navi system will be like, okay, I'm just going to take a left here or take a right there or go over this bridge. But you're always going towards that final destination. And that final destination can change. I think that's also a bit of pressure that people add to themselves. Is like, okay, I've got this vision. It cannot change. And then to your point, like once you have the vision, then it's like building the bridge there or building that strategy, building that roadmap where it's like, okay, what are the little milestones to hit along the way, AKA goals, which should be SMART goals, but we'll talk about that another day too.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that's how I like to explain it because it makes a lot of sense when you're thinking about it from like a navigational standpoint. Like I shouldn't say everyone drives, but everyone probably has been into a car where someone is driving and they've had to use their Navi system. I'd be lost without Google Maps.
And I think we've all experienced somebody who's totally lost as well when you've been in a car, which can be me on many an occasion with a sat nav. So, and it's a painful process. And certainly during the start of lockdown was when I really started to awaken and the big questions crop up. And I'm sure we've all experienced this, which is, why am I here? What am I here to do? What's my gift to give? And it's a painful place to be if you don't know where you're going, because you can't prioritize because everything's a priority. So it's quite an overwhelming place to be. And there's a lot of suffering involved of not knowing where you're going. But, and of course, we have to let go of the grip of the story that holds everybody back. And you do have to think, okay, that was the story. But when you ask the question, what does winning look like to me in 12 years' time? What have I done? what have I had to have let go of in order to achieve that thing or those things? And what did I gain? What skills did I have to build? What type of person did I need to become in order to achieve that? And I think instinctively we know what those answers are, because like my internal system's telling me all those answers right now. So it's typically small things. It's behavioral change and identity change, isn't it? It's identifying with the 2.0 version of you that can do all those things, which is already there underneath the layers of conditioning and story. You know, we have a story about our capabilities, we have a story about our gifts and what we can and can't do or be in the world, and it's just not true. You know, we are born into greatness and seduced into mediocrity, conditioned into mediocre. So it's a big topic. But I think when we ask the question, what does winning look like to me in 12 months time, you have to let go of the story. And it's really nice to loosen the grip on that and think, okay, you can step into something that's really fresh and the joy of that vision, because you can see it and feel it, and bringing that into the now, the feeling of that into the now. And certainly something that I hadn't been good at in the beginning was putting a vision somewhere over there and saying, I'll be happy when. And that's a really difficult place to be, because as Naval says, when you create a desire for something, you also create a contract with yourself to be unhappy until you get it.
Let's unpack that for a second, because I think it's really important. So first of all, I want to ask everyone who's listening, how clear is your vision? Just do an internal check. Like, is it a picture that you can see, you close your eyes, or is it something that you just can't see, you have no idea? I know, like, for me, I used to hate that question in interviews way back in the corporate days, where it was like, okay, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know, and I used to hate that question. But I think what you're touching on here is this success secret, I think, that is all about the be, do, have method, which we've definitely talked about, because Paul and I are always about, it's not about the doing, it's about the being. So when you're talking about, okay, so let's actually break this down. So the be, do, have method, right? There's 3 ways of living your life. Okay, there's the victim, which who lives their lives as have, do, be, right? So like, the more that I have, the more money I have, the more, insert whatever you want there, the more that I have, then I can do more, and then I'll be happy. But to your point, that person is always going to be unfulfilled because they're always chasing something that they don't have yet. And then the worker bee, which I used to be super guilty of, you know, they live their lives as do, have, be. So the more work that I do, the more money I have, then I'll be happy, is the classic thing that we all go to. And then, but they're not going to be happy either, because the work is always going to be there. I mean, if I don't stop myself, I could work all day, all night, like, and I've been there, done that. And I know a lot of people who are listening have probably fallen into that, or maybe seeing themselves there. They're like, yeah, I'm at that burnout stage, or I feel super stressed because I feel like I'm working all the time, or I'm having a bad relationship because my partner always complains that I'm never home, or my kids, whatever the reason, there's that feedback for you. And then you have the winner, which is why we're talking about winning here. You have the winner, you're in winner mode, which is be, do, have. the stronger I am, the healthier I am, the more fit that I am, insert whatever, then I can do all the things and will just come naturally. So like, I know I've outlined it. Paul, do you want to add anything to that? Because I know we use that system or refer to that system quite a bit, that method.
Well, that's a pretty unknown. To start with identity and who you wish to be, isn't it? And that can be as simple as, if we look back to scenarios with our partners, children, young ones, social situations, and we think about how we've been over the last couple of weeks and ask ourselves, is that really the best version of us? And what does that look like? Like if we were to invite those people into a room in 20 years' time, the people closest to you, and have them describe you in 3 words, what would you like them to say? And it's like you can grow into that right now. And like to save anyone reading any books on manifesting, that's always like bringing the future into the now is the belief and the feeling that you already have the thing, the abundance right now. And that's summed up. So there's no need to look at anything else, because that's it. You have to bring it into the present moment, because the moment it's somewhere else or in some time zone that isn't here, it will create suffering. And that's where the being is so important. But that's not normal. We're taught to set goals, and big goals, so that it's a worthy thing to create enough fuel. But actually, it can cause separation if you don't start with, who do I want to be? How do I want to be remembered? How do I want to live? What does my perfect day look like? And what are the things, and how does that person live? How does he interact? How does she deal with her family and partner? And how do we take care of ourselves so you're performing, and that you're performing at your absolute best and just in love with life? And I think when you get to that stage, yeah, absolutely, it's like winning, whatever that looks like to you, as you would say, insert here, is a byproduct of that. And it's certainly always been the case in my life that when I'm loving what I'm doing, success is a byproduct of that. But I think it's really important to think you've got to know where you're going. You've got to know what the North Star looks like. But then you've almost got to let go of that and think, okay, well, what are the fundamentals that move the needle each day that's going to get me there? Because if I'm tasked with building a brick wall, I'd be dreadful at it. But I can't worry about the wall. And I think this is where the stress comes in. I can't control the wall, but I can control how I lay that brick perfectly every day. And that I can control. And like the stress that we feel, like Eckhart Tolle says, is a resistance of what is. So if we're stressed, we're resisting what is and wishing it were different, which is to resist life itself, which is crazy. So we can accept it. You don't have to like it, but you have to accept where you are and think, okay, hard stop. We take a hard stop. Where am I? Where do I want to be? And what's it going to take? What's the commitment cost in order to do the thing? Because there's a commitment to it, isn't there? And I think that sometimes we or it's not explained, that part, that there is a price somewhere. And it's okay, well, what are the trade-offs that you could accept? It's like, what are the commitment costs going to look like? And I'm happy with those, but not those. Well, that's great. Then you've made your rules for life, so you don't constantly question all of your actions and everything you're doing all the time, which is so much mental energy. It's like, okay, well, no, I'll do this, I do this, and I do this, and I do that. And it's a really nice filter for everything that you do, because you're in full alignment with what's important to you and your priorities. And it makes all of your decision making easier. So you have you don't have that mental burnout of overthinking everything so much. It really helps with that. And that's what I really like the simplicity of the Be Do Have, and I really do like that because of that state of being the first pillar of it, really.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys, when I used to lead vision board workshops, or when I still do sometimes my vision board workshops, that's where we start. We start with the be, the do, and the have in that particular order. And then it's about, finding images or words or things that like capture everything that you've just put down. And I'm not simplifying the vision board process, but literally, if you don't start with who, like, 12 months from now, you look back, it's the best year of your life. And by the way, we're going to give you something to help you do this at the end of this podcast. So stay tuned, because we'll share it with you, because it's one of our tools that we use. But if you take yourself 12 months from now and you look back and it is the best year of your life, how would you describe yourself? How do you feel? What are you wearing? Where do you live? Like, who do you hang out with? Who do you live with? Like, what do you do for fun? How many income streams do you have? Like, all of these things matter, and they have to be part. And I am going to say this, they have to be part of that overall big picture, because you want to make sure, like, because the work that I do, if you're not familiar, is like using that wellness 360 approach, where you're looking at all the different areas of your life, and you're sort of saying, like, okay, how do I feel in my finances? How do I feel in my career, or my business? How do I feel in my relationships, etc.? And that's, how you get to that's how you know what your starting point is, to actually understand, like have a pulse on where you're at. And then you could sort of say, okay, well, this is where I'm at, and this is who I want to be in 12 months, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I'll have in those 12 months. And that's what you use to really experience the joy of vision, because you get to dream big. There's no limits here.
No.
You are your own limit. Like, don't set anything. Don't set any limits. So I can't wait for you guys to see this resource that we put together for you, because it's really going to help you kind of unpack that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we wanted you to have some takeaways where you can just go and put this into action, as opposed to just listening and thinking, oh, that was good, and then doing nothing with it, which is basically what happens with every podcast on earth. But we want to make this actionable, so it actually makes a change in how you think and how you behave to make improvements in your life, and that's what we want to bring. Because I've certainly been there many times and thought that's absolutely great, with the best intention of, like, yeah, I'll do that, and then life happens, doesn't it? And we're not good at taking a moment to take the pulse of things and to assess, because typically we're trying to move away from something, and those coping mechanisms are the bad habits, but you've got to go there for a minute and just assess, okay, this is where I am, but where do I really want to be, and really get excited about that, because that's a beautiful thing. We're all born creators. It's just that you might not think that you're necessarily a creative person. You are the architect of your own life. There's no doubt about it. And so you can create that. You can create that, and there are no possibilities. It's just crazy to think that we are limited in any way. It's just unbelievable. Like, we're the only sort of creatures that don't reach our natural capacity naturally. Like, a tree will grow as tall as it can. It will drive down every root it can and expand as far as it possibly can. As Jim Rohn would say, you never heard of a tree growing half as high as it could.
I like that.
So this is a concept I really like. So the mighty oak lies within the tiny acorn. And so if everything in nature, as a seedling, has everything it needs to reach its true capacity, we have as well. That is already there. Just that we pick up doubt and disbelief as we go through, through teachers and parents and friends or whatever else. We disbelieve and we lose contact with our brave, heroic, creative selves, and we're here to bring that back. And that's why it's about modern self-mastery, coming home to who you really are and driving down those roots of what you really do want. Because we're willing to struggle for what we want, but we won't struggle and toil over things we don't really want. So it's really good assessment to understand what you're getting after. Where did that come from? If you've got a list of things that you think you're going after that you want, where did that come from? Did you pick that up, or have you heard it somewhere? Is it something you think that you should have because it's the societal thing as a goal, or do you really want it? You end up with a handful of things that are yours, that strike a chord in the pit of the stomach, that turn emotion that you want. And it's really good to get to that stage, because we pick up lots of stuff we think we want that actually we don't. And I think it's a good exercise for that visioning. As you said, there's a great resource that you'll have access to. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, we're gonna share it with you at the end, and so you'll be able to access it. Just for being a listener, we want to thank you for being with us, and we want to make this the most amazing community, and we just want to share our experiences and knowledge for sure. One thing, when you were talking about sort of resistance, when you have when you're showing up as the person who you think you are, or that you think everyone wants you to be, and then but then behind closed doors, you're somebody else. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, we talked about this recently, this book. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's got this great book. If you're looking to kind of get into a bit more self-discovery, and I don't know how else to describe it, but just to tell you the title, which is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's such a great book. I actually listened to the audio while I was traveling recently, and I was like, there are so many golden nuggets. And just that little gold there that I shared with you, and that might resonate with you, let us know. But the more of a gap that you have between the person that you're showing up as and the person who you really are, the more unhappy and unfulfilled you're going to be. But as you close that gap, meaning you get to show up as your truest, bestest self, no matter what, and you don't care, like, you might lose friends, you will definitely gain better friends, I'll tell you that, but you might your whole world will change once you step into that truer version of yourself, and that is the best way to be, in terms of creating that self-mastery and just being who you are, and sharing your beautiful gifts and everything with the world. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just like thinking about how many people are, how many people really are living their life as their best selves. And we're always evolving to the next best thing, because we're constantly experiencing things, we're reading things, we're meeting new people, and you'll be in this evolution for quite some time, actually your whole life. So but it's such a great book, and we'll put the link to it as well down below, or in the show notes. But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things he talks about in that book, along with kind of Mind the Gap, as to who you really are. Well, one thing is that inauthenticity is exhausting. So if you put on a front all the time around people and circumstances, and you get home and close the door and you can be who you really are, to keep putting up that performance is draining, for one. But it does take courage to be who you really are, because you might have built up businesses, people, relationships based on who you're not. as a character, you've built a character. And I can't remember where I heard it now, but like it goes along the lines of, I think you think that I'm disciplined, therefore I think I'm disciplined. Like, I think that you think I'm smart, therefore I think I'm smart. You know what I mean? So like, we can also gain our sense of self from perception of what other people tell us, but it's not coming from us. So you can pick up these things. I know that's quite a bit to take in, but that's the truth of it. You come back and you think, actually, what's really at my core, and because it strikes, it moves you emotionally as to who you really are. And it does pop out from time to time, because typically you'll offend somebody, because I'll put my teeth back in. You'll speak without thinking, and you'll probably offend somebody, but that's who you really are. The real you pops out, and in those situations. But you definitely get a different tribe and a better tribe that fits who you are. It does take some courage. It does take some courage, and I think that's what it is, because we're not used to sort of stepping out and being who we really are through fear of judgment, ridicule, because we want to fit in with the tribe. But you'll find a new tribe, and the right tribe, where you can just be who you really are. And like I say, when you close that gap, that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's work for most of us to do. That's for sure. It takes courage, and we're here to guide you along this journey of self-mastery and living well, living really well, and just being in love with life, because we are our emotions. It doesn't matter how much money you've got and how many houses and cars. If your emotional home is frustration, anger, judgment, jealousy, that's your life. So, so we've got to shift that emotional home to step into a new state of being. We come back to being again. So it's going to be quite some journey, and a lot of life lessons and things that we just can't wait to share as we progress. And it's really exciting to share that with everybody today. And we're so pleased that you're with us.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. So I just to wrap up today, thanks for listening. And I think what we're saying is, if you want to experience the joy of vision, start with the being. Start with asking yourself, who do you want to be? How would you describe yourself? How do you want to be remembered? Everyone says, oh, what's the legacy you want to leave? But it's also like, it's not just the legacy. It's like, how do you be legendary as well? It's just, I just love that. I got that one. That came to me kind of when Tina Turner passed, but anyway, I digress. But so for those of you who have stayed on, there will be a link around the show notes of this podcast where you can access all of our free resources, including our vision planner. So this vision planner is for you. It's our gift to you. Have printed out. It's fillable as well. So take some time and we would encourage you to just really actually put a paragraph, or really dig into the questions, because they're very thought-provoking. And set yourself a time, do not disturb time, a good half hour, an hour if you want. Go to your favorite place and just be with yourself, and just really answer the questions truly and honestly, And just we hope that you enjoy it, and we hope that you enjoyed today. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you very much.